Alright guys, welcome back. This is video 2 in my series of how to become a blacksmith without any training or any help from anybody, except for my wife, her brother, and everyone else that would hear me whine about it. In this video, what I'm doing is I'm unboxing and I'm going to assemble the Devil Forge, which is the forge I chose to, heat up the metal. The reason I chose it, of course, was that it was super inexpensive compared to some of the others. It did have to ship all the way from Lithuania, but it came in like 4 days, and I'm in Canada, so that's that's nuts. Here you see me opening the burner. The burner is the section that the propane will be connected to, and that'll drive gas into the forge itself. Here's me hurting myself trying to open it. The way this works is those two silver discs on the top are they're called brakes or throttles. You can open them up to allow more or less airflow into the burner, so that would change the heat or the temperature of the flame. Please excuse too, off to the right, that little shaky black nonsense. That is my soldering iron in frame, and I apologize. This is the body of the forge itself, if you couldn't tell. What I'm doing here is I'm just going to crack it open. You can see I'm using a scalpel to open everything, and it's super annoying. I wish I had just gotten a appropriate box cutter or utility knife, but here we are. So what you'll notice, a couple neat things from the Devil Forge right off the start. It looks pretty nice. It's got a nice, you'll see here in a second, it's got a nice steel logo on the side of it, or a silver colored logo. It's a nice matte black color. And it's got some pretty sturdy legs welded to the bottom. It looks very, very nice, as you can see here. It also has a significant insulation there. That's called either rock wool or kale wool. Some people call it, as far as I know. In fact, the stuff that Devil Forge uses might be called something completely different. I got no idea. But anyway, in there is a type of wool. Now, normally that wool is flame or heat resistant, which is great. But there's also a rigidizer that the Devil Forge people provide, and this is it here. The rigidizer is like a thing that you got to paint on to the wool, and it does two things. It protects the wool a little bit from just wearing out, but the biggest thing I think is the fibers of the kale wool are harmful. You shouldn't be breathing it up. So I don't have it on here, but you'll see in a few minutes when I go to put the rigidizer on, I'll have my mask on. I'm not, the king of safety or anything weird like that, and I'm sure that you'll see me make a pile of crazy mistakes and injure myself a bunch during this video, or this series of videos, but I did wear my mask. Those two little white things you just seen in my hand, those are some more additional kale wool, which are supposed to be stuffed down in those burner slots on the top of the forge. And what you see me pulling out now, this is the hardware. So that first bit, the orange bit there, is the regulator, so you can control the PSI of the forge. And in this little baggie here, you'll see a lot of fittings. So a couple worm gears, nipple, some other brass shenanigans. And we'll go over that later on in this video when I assemble it. But everything that you need was included. The only thing it didn't include, of course, was the propane tank. And I have to tell you, I've never bought any kind of serious hardware before. Like the most expensive thing I think I've ever bought before this was maybe like an angle grinder or something. But this thing, first of all, came from Lithuania. It came super fast. It came crazy well packaged. I mean, you can see me here. I'm unwrapping the fire bricks. The fire bricks are what lay in the floor of the forge, and that's the sort of design where you put the steel when it's heating up and stuff. It also protects the kale wool at the bottom. But you can see, like this, everything in this package was wrapped to perfection, and it came. I'm very impressed, I guess would be the key takeaway with the Devil Forge people. I mean, so far, when I go to hook this thing up, it might explode in my face, and then maybe I'll leave them a 3-star rating. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and assume everything is cool. And like I said, the packaging was quick, or was great. The shipping was quick. It comes with everything you need. They even ship a paintbrush to paint on the Rigidizer, which I think you'll see here in a second. Which is, you know, they didn't have to do that. I mean, it would have. It was a pretty crummy paintbrush, but you know, hey, good on them, man. That's pretty awesome. So, anyway, I'm just going to put this aside here, and oh, there's the paintbrush there. We'll go ahead here in about 30 seconds or so. I'm going to mix up the Rigidizer. Now, I failed to film mixing the Rigidizer, but it's simply like, it's like cake batter. You put the powder in the thing, you put in the amount of water, which was 210 milliliters, and then you stir. They say to stir for a long time, and they also say you got to act pretty quickly. So that's what we're going to do. Here's a fun little blooper for you. This will give you some idea of the kind of genius that you're dealing with. I needed a container to mix the Rigidizer in. So instead of going to get something to put it in, I decided to be like one of those clever guys on YouTube and cut open a bottle, or in this case it looks like a cleaning chemical container. First of all, I tried to open it with my scalpel, which was foolish. And then I went and got my little utility knife here, and I just didn't even come close to cutting it straight. You can see me here looking at it, trying to figure out what the hell I'm doing. And yeah, look at me. Look at my face. Look at the frustration. No, this did not work at all. First of all, I didn't even cut it deep enough to put the stuff. Like, if I tried to mix it in here, it would have overflowed. So I wasted, you know, a minute doing nothing for no reason. So anyway, let me put it in a jar. As promised, here's the stuff in the jar, all mixed up. Also, you'll notice that I'm wearing a respirator. Again, it's got to do with kale wool or rock wool fibers floating around. Again, I'm not 100% sure what the level of safety or whatever is required here, but I didn't want to take any risks. You know, my lungs, I'm probably only going to get one shot with these lungs, so we'll try to keep them intact. Here you can see this is it's a pretty straightforward process, although you know, it's a little labor intensive. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take my time, douse up this paintbrush, and paint a good thick coat of the stuff on the kale wool. I'm going to do the inside completely until I can't see any white. This Rigidizer stuff is fairly brown, as you can see in the foreground there. So it's pretty easy to see what you haven't painted, but except for at certain points, you'll notice I'll be using a flashlight here. It's because I can't really see in there, so I found a couple of spots that I missed. I'm also going to paint the ends, where the cut ends of the kale wool as well. This part of the video is going to be sped up because I don't really want to waste too much of your time. I mean, it's just me painting cloth, you know, which isn't super exciting. But it's important to just so you guys can see, if you guys decide to buy this forge, this is the kind of stuff that you're in for. Pretty simple process. It was super cool of them to provide the Rigidizer because from what I understand, they didn't used to provide Rigidizer at all. And in fact, most folks that bought it never ever used any kind of Rigidizer. So that probably led to some quick degradation of the wool. And also maybe some of those nasty fibers floating around, getting people in the eyeballs and lungs and whatever else. But yeah, this process is whatever. It takes a few minutes. So we're going to speed along a little bit, and you'll catch me. I'm going to start doing the ends. The ends of the kale wool are... I was trying desperately to not paint the body of the thing, but you know, what am I going to do? I didn't have much choice. I'm not super accurate. So we just took some time here. I got all the edges. I made sure to try to make sure there was absolutely no exposed wool whatsoever. On top of that, I had a lot of Rigidizer left over. So I went ahead and, well, I I just used some more. So this is me here. I took a second to try to clean up some of it, but whatever. It doesn't clean up super well until it's dry. Once it's dry, it's like a powder, so it comes off very easily. So I just kind of wasted some time here. Yeah, so I went ahead, and you can see I just missed that white spot on the end cap there, but I'll get that in a few minutes. Yeah, there I am getting it there. So, yeah, so that's it. I just went ahead and I painted this stuff on. I painted it on good and thick. And I went back and tried to use up as much of it as I thought was practical. This stuff apparently takes 24 hours to cure. A little bit of a spoiler alert. As of this filming, it's just over 24 hours, and it's still a little bit damp. But where I live here in Nova Scotia in Canada, today and yesterday is super humid. So I'm assuming that's slowing down the curing process. So I just went ahead and I put a fan in with the thing to get the air flowing. So hopefully by tomorrow we'll be ready to fire this sucker up. Like I said, it's pretty well done now. Yeah, so we'll go like that. That's me done there now. I think I got it, and we'll see when it dries up. Sorry, this is me jumping ahead a little bit here. I went ahead and, like I mentioned before, I took the flashlight to the inside and found a couple of holes and whatever places I may have missed a little bit, and so I did some fine tuning of the rigidizer. Like I said, I still had quite a bit of it left, so I felt like maybe I was screwing up, so I took another pass at it. I'm not going to make you sit through all of this video either. We'll speed it up. But it's just a lot of me using the flashlight to try to find any, missed spots. I also redid the ends and the bottom especially. I took some time to redo the bottom a bit because that's where most of the flame and heat will be good, or be blasted. But of course the bricks will be there, but I don't know, just make it a little bit tougher. This little section here, I took all the bolts out and I gave them a little scrub with a wire brush because there was a little bit of black paint from the manufacturing process on it. I also went ahead and I tried to figure out what to do with this extra kaolin wool that they gave me. So the instructions said that they go in the little tubes at the top where the burner fits in, and you can kind of see that at the very top of the main body of the forge. Yeah, so I didn't quite get it because the amount of kaolin that they gave me for each one was tremendously way too thick to fit in there. So, first of all, the burners themselves are almost the same width of of those little tubes there, and they gave me 2 huge wads of this kaolin or rock wool stuff. So I wasn't quite sure what to do. Long story short, I'm not going to show you that here. But I basically just, once the rigidizer had dried and the burner was assembled and installed on the top, I just went ahead and stuffed it in there. I ripped pieces of the kaolin wool padding off and tried to fill as many gaps between that tube wall and the burner as I could. They gave me way more than I needed, which is great, I guess, is a good thing. Again, kudos to the Devil Forge people. You can see here the level of confusion on my face here. This thing is just not going to fit. There's just no way. Anyway, let me show you how I put together the burner. Okay, guys, so assembling the burner was very, very easy. The reason I didn't film it is because I got a little carried away. And I forgot. So anyway, I'll show you quickly what I did. So this section here, this sort of H frame is all together. What I had to do was I had to slide these 2 worm gears onto the hose, sort of wedge or jam this piece of hose over this nozzle, and use this screwdriver just to tighten up this worm gear to give that a good tight seal. Same thing over here. There's this guy here was sort of long. You can see it goes up to about here on the hose. I had to shove that in and then worm gear this on, and then all I had to do with the regulator part was I had to screw in this I guess you'd just call it like a controller or turning the power up and down, and then you just screw this onto here. Now my understanding is that when you buy from Devil Forge, they give you the option of the Polish, Russian regulator hose. There's one for the UK and there's one for Canada, North America. I asked for the Canada, North America one, but I haven't actually tried to screw this onto my propane tank yet. But it should be just a matter of, whatever, screwing this in. So hopefully that's it. But yeah, so just this guy here, like I said, goes in here. And then, whatever, Bob's your uncle. And then I got a burner. Woo! Alright, so the forge, the rigidizer is mostly dry. You can see, you might be able to see there's still a few damp spots in there, but that's okay. I'm not going to fire it up today anyway. What I am going to do is I'm going to install the burner set, which I have here. Now the instructions say that the bottom of the burner should extend to the bottom of the Kailwool hole in the bottom of the, or in the top of the forge. So I thought that was going to be a big pain in the butt, but it turns out this metal bar here pretty well makes it sit perfect. You don't have to screw around with it at all. So that's, I mean, other than putting the screws in, that's it. That's installing the burner. So I have the bolts, which again, I think I mentioned that I filed off or brushed off the threads because they were a little skanky. So I'm just going to go ahead and hand tighten these and try to get them as close to center as possible. And this should be a very, very simple process. Yeah, that one there's a little chunky. All right, and this other one here. Yeah. So you just do the same thing on both sides. Pretty simple, eh? I didn't think it was going to be this easy. Like this whole Devil Forge thing. Again, I'm not. Devil Forge doesn't. Nobody sponsors me. So I don't know. I'm only saying this because of how impressed I am with their stuff. This has been so far. Again, the thing has not been hooked up to any gas yet, so it may explode in my face. But all things being equal, this has been a very, very simple process. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and. What's your real function here? Nope, take back everything I said. It's junk. Oh no, there it goes. Whew. All right. So yeah, so I'm just gonna go ahead and put these in a bit, hand tighten them up. And I have a ratchet here that matches the size. I just happen to have, I own literally 2 ratchets. And this one here happens to be the 13 millimeter that it is. So, sweet. So I'm just gonna, oh yeah, sure. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna tighten these up a bit. Let's see if I have to get that. Sorry if I'm in your way there. I'll just try and get them as even as I can. Yeah. And that's pretty perfect. I don't think you could get any more perfect than that. The way that they set these up in such a way that I mean, it totally, with this bar, it sits perfectly in line with the top of the Kailwool, which is just awesome. That's the best part. So yeah, I'm just going to hand tighten these up so they touch the burner. I'm trying not to drive it too far off center. And then I'll take the ratchet handle here and I'll give them all a little, just a little snug. I'm not going to go too tight because, first of all, I don't want to dent or mar the burners. But also, I mean, these things are, I mean, it's in there pretty good already. So I don't want to overdo it. There's no need. First of all, it's already perfectly fine, so. Yeah, this isn't, I'm pretty proud of myself considering I have no idea how to do any of these things. This has been a delight. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to shut her down here and then I'm going to put on my respirator. I'm not going to record audio while I'm wearing the respirator because that's probably a waste of time, and I'll record the audio separately. So you'll see a cut here and then we'll be back in stuffing kale wool up places that it needs to go. Okay, so first of all, please excuse the horrific camera work here. You can tell videography is not my, I don't know what my skill set is. Anyway, although you can see the lovely weeds in the middle right there. Isn't that lovely? I think the light source that I'm using kept reflecting off that bolt in the very front, and it kept screwing off the focus. Also, my big stupid shoulder's in the way. But anyway, moving on here. The whole point here is that I'm slicing pieces of that kale wool wad, or well, one of the wads. They provided me with two. And I'm just kind of cutting little strips and shoving them down the holes here. You can see it's not an exact science. The bolts are mostly in the way from the kale wool anyway. But I read the directions, and all it keeps saying is to stop fire from coming up through these holes. So I think it's just supposed to be like a little bit of a little bit of material in between the body of the forge and the tubes that the burner goes into. So it's nothing too serious. So I am taking my time a little bit here, cutting off nice thin pieces and making sure that they completely cover the space between the burner and the burner tube. But this process does take a good few minutes. And there's not really much to say about it. I use my scalpel, I cut little strips, and then I rip those little strips thin. And then I use this little screwdriver jiggy here to jam them down there. That's it. So I'm going to speed up the rest of this footage. But essentially, yeah, that's it. It took 4 minutes start to finish. Nothing too challenging. Yeah, so once that was done, I called it a day. All right, so there we go. The Devil Forge is all assembled. So all I had to do was finish stuffing some kale wool down in the kale wool hole. And I think we're ready to go. So I'm not going to fire this up today. It'll probably be on the next video. And then hopefully you'll be there to join us. So again, I'm really impressed with the Devil Forge so far. But I guess the proof will be in the pudding next time I see you guys. Take care.